Solomon's name has become synonymous with wisdom. For centuries, his extraordinary ability to judge fairly, his writings filled with insight, and his leadership as a king have captured the imagination of countless generations. But how did Solomon, a young and inexperienced king, rise to become known as the wisest ruler in history? The story of Solomon is not just a tale of power or royalty. It is a profound journey that reveals the divine origins of true wisdom and its transformative impact on every aspect of life. As we explore the life and legacy of Solomon, we will uncover not just the events that shaped his story, but also the principles that defined his life. His wisdom was no ordinary gift. It was a divine endowment, given not for personal gain, but for the benefit of his people and the glory of God. The secrets of Solomon's wisdom are as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago. They remind us of the power of humility, the importance of seeking understanding above all else, and the enduring truth that wisdom is a treasure far greater than riches or power. The journey begins with a single, defining moment in Solomon's life, the moment he asked for wisdom. At this critical juncture, he could have requested anything: wealth, military might, or even a long life. Instead, he chose wisdom. This choice not only set him apart from other rulers, but also revealed a heart that valued understanding and discernment above all else. To truly appreciate the significance of this moment, it is important to consider the context of Solomon's life. He was the son of King David, a man described as a man after God's own heart. Yet Solomon faced the daunting challenge of following in his father's footsteps and leading a nation. The weight of responsibility must have been overwhelming, but it was in this moment of vulnerability that Solomon made a decision that would change his life forever. The Bible records this pivotal moment in 1 Kings 3 verse 5-9. God appeared to Solomon in a dream and said, "Ask for whatever you want me to give you." Imagine being in Solomon's place. The creator of the universe offers you anything your heart desires. How would you respond? For many, the temptation might be to ask for wealth, success, or power. Yet Solomon's response was remarkable. "Give your servant a discerning heart to govern your people and to distinguish between right and wrong. For who is able to govern this great people of yours?" This request reveals so much about Solomon's character. He acknowledged his own limitations, recognizing that he lacked the ability to govern such a vast and diverse kingdom without divine help. He also demonstrated a deep understanding of what was truly important. Instead of focusing on his own needs or desires, Solomon sought wisdom to serve others better. God's response to Solomon's prayer is equally profound. Not only did he grant Solomon unparalleled wisdom, but he also blessed him with what he did not ask for: wealth, honor, and long life. This moment highlights a crucial truth. When we seek wisdom and align our hearts with God's purposes, we often receive far more than we could ever imagine. But Solomon's story is not just about receiving wisdom, it is about using it. His life provides us with a rich tapestry of lessons about how wisdom can shape our decisions, our relationships, and even our legacy. Through his writings, such as Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Song of Songs, Solomon left a timeless treasure trove of insights that continue to guide and inspire people to this day. As we delve deeper into Solomon's life, we will explore not only the heights of his wisdom, but also the challenges and failures that marked his reign. His story reminds us that wisdom, while invaluable, must be coupled with obedience and humility. It also shows us that even the wisest among us are not immune to making mistakes, and that true wisdom comes from continually seeking God's guidance. In the chapters that follow, we will examine the defining moments of Solomon's life, the extraordinary gift he received, and the lasting impact of his writings and teachings. Through these stories, we will uncover the secrets of Solomon's wisdom and discover how they can inspire us to live with greater discernment, purpose, and faith. Before we dive deeper into the extraordinary life of King Solomon, I'd like to take a moment to ask for your support. If you're enjoying this content and want to see more videos like this, please consider subscribing to the channel, leaving a comment, and giving this video a thumbs up. Your support helps us continue sharing these meaningful stories and insights with more people. Thank you. And now, let's continue. God's gift that made Solomon different. Solomon's wisdom was not a product of human intellect, education, or experience. It was a divine gift, one that set him apart, not only in his own time, but throughout history. The wisdom Solomon received from God was extraordinary, transcending human understanding and offering insights that were profound, practical, and timeless. To fully grasp the significance of this gift, we must explore its nature, its purpose, and why it was unlike anything the world had ever seen. When Solomon asked for wisdom, he did not merely seek knowledge. His request was for a discerning heart, the ability to distinguish between right and wrong, and the capacity to govern with justice. In response, God granted him a wisdom that went far beyond what he could have imagined. It was a wisdom that encompassed every area of life: governance, relationships, science, art, and even the mysteries of nature. The Bible describes Solomon's wisdom in 1 Kings 4 verse 29 to 31. God gave Solomon wisdom and very great insight, and a breadth of understanding as measureless as the sand on the seashore. Solomon's wisdom was greater than the wisdom of all the people of the East, and greater than all the wisdom of Egypt. He was wiser than anyone else. This passage highlights the divine origin of Solomon's wisdom. It was not limited by the boundaries of human reasoning or cultural traditions. It surpassed the renowned wisdom of the ancient world, including the learned scholars of Egypt and the philosophers of the East. The breadth of Solomon's understanding was described as being as measureless as the sand on the seashore, emphasizing its vastness and depth. What made Solomon's wisdom so extraordinary was its practical application. He was not a philosopher who merely pondered abstract ideas. Solomon's wisdom was rooted in real-life situations and aimed at solving complex problems. This is evident in the way he governed his kingdom, administered justice, and wrote practical advice for daily living. His ability to combine profound understanding with practical solutions was unparalleled and remains a hallmark of true wisdom. One of the most remarkable aspects of Solomon's wisdom was his understanding of nature. The Bible notes that Solomon had deep knowledge of the natural world. He described plant life from the cedar of Lebanon to the hyssop that grows out of walls. He also taught about animals, birds, reptiles, and fish, 1 Kings 4, verse 33. This insight into creation was not merely scientific. It reflected a deeper understanding of the Creator's design and purpose in the natural world. Solomon's ability to observe and interpret the intricacies of nature demonstrated the interconnectedness of all things and pointed to the wisdom of God, who is the source of all knowledge. Moreover, Solomon's writings reveal the moral and spiritual dimensions of his wisdom. The book of Proverbs, attributed to Solomon, is a collection of sayings and teachings that provide guidance on how to live wisely and righteously. Proverbs 1 verse 7 sets the tone for the entire book. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. This verse underscores a foundational truth about wisdom. It begins with a reverence for God. Solomon understood that true wisdom is not merely intellectual, but spiritual. It requires humility, a recognition of one's dependence on God, and a willingness to learn and grow. Another aspect that made Solomon's wisdom unique was its purpose. God did not give Solomon wisdom for his own benefit, but for the good of the people he was called to lead. Solomon's wisdom was a tool for justice, peace, and prosperity. It enabled him to govern with fairness and to make decisions that reflected God's character. This purpose is evident in the famous story of Solomon's judgment, where his wisdom brought justice to two women disputing over a child. The impact of Solomon's wisdom was felt far beyond the borders of Israel. His fame spread throughout the known world, attracting rulers and dignitaries who came to seek his counsel and marvel at his insight. One of the most famous accounts is that of the Queen of Sheba, who traveled a great distance to test Solomon's wisdom and was left in awe by his answers and the splendor of his kingdom. Her response, recorded in 1 Kings 10, verse 6-7, captures the universal admiration for Solomon's gift. "The report I heard in my own country about your achievements and your wisdom is true. But I did not believe these things until I came and saw with my own eyes. Indeed, not even half was told me. In wisdom and wealth you have far exceeded the report I heard." Yet, as extraordinary as Solomon's wisdom was, it also came with great responsibility. God's gift was a reminder that wisdom is not an end in itself, but a means to reflect His glory and serve His purposes. Solomon's wisdom was intended to lead people to God, to demonstrate His justice, and to create a society that honored Him. However, as we will later explore, even the greatest gift of wisdom could not protect Solomon from the dangers of pride and disobedience. His story is a sobering reminder that wisdom, no matter how divine in origin, must be accompanied by a steadfast commitment to walking in God's ways. For now, we can marvel at the extraordinary nature of Solomon's gift and the way it transformed his life and his kingdom. His wisdom was a glimpse into the mind of God, a demonstration of what is possible when human beings align their hearts and minds with divine truth. The famous judgment that proved Solomon's wisdom. One of the most well-known stories from Solomon's life is his famous judgment between two women who claimed to be the mother of the same child. This moment not only solidified Solomon's reputation as a wise king, but also demonstrated his ability to discern truth in the most difficult of circumstances. The story, recorded in 1 Kings 3, verse 16-28, is a testament to the practical application of the divine wisdom that God had bestowed upon him. The story begins with two women who come before King Solomon, each claiming to be the mother of an infant boy. Both women lived in the same house, and there were no witnesses to corroborate their claims. The circumstances were further complicated because one of the women had recently lost her own child, leading to suspicion and tension. The situation was a legal and emotional dilemma. In a society where evidence and witnesses were required to determine the truth, there seemed to be no clear way to resolve the dispute. Yet Solomon, faced with this seemingly impossible case, responded with a decision that revealed not only his wisdom, but also his deep understanding of human nature. After listening to the accusations and defenses of both women, Solomon gave an unexpected command. "Bring me a sword. Cut the living child in two and give half to one and half to the other." 1 Kings 3, verse 24-25. At first glance, this order might seem harsh or even shocking. But Solomon's intention was not to harm the child, it was to expose the truth. His command was a masterful test, designed to reveal the real mother's heart. The reaction of the two women was immediate and telling. The first woman, moved by her maternal instincts and love for the child, cried out, "Please, my lord, give her the living baby. Don't kill him." Verse 26. She was willing to give up her claim to the child in order to save his life. The second woman, however, coldly replied, "Neither I nor you shall have him. Cut him in two." In that moment, Solomon's strategy worked perfectly. He declared, "Give the living baby to the first woman. Do not kill him. She is his mother." Verse 27. The true mother's selfless love and the false mother's indifference were revealed through their reactions. This judgment became a defining moment in Solomon's reign. News of his decision spread quickly, and the people of Israel were filled with awe at their king's wisdom. The Bible states, "When all Israel heard the verdict the king had given, they held the king in awe, because they saw that he had wisdom from God to administer justice." Verse 28. This story highlights several key aspects of Solomon's wisdom. First, it shows his ability to think beyond conventional solutions. Instead of relying on evidence that did not exist or making a judgment based on incomplete information, Solomon devised a test that revealed the truth through the natural responses of the two women. His creativity and insight into human behavior were unmatched. Second, this moment underscores the moral foundation of Solomon's wisdom. His judgment was not motivated by personal gain or political considerations. It was rooted in a genuine desire to ensure justice. By protecting the innocent and exposing deception, Solomon demonstrated the kind of leadership that reflects God's character. The story also serves as a powerful reminder of the value of discernment. Solomon's ability to see beyond words and appearances to the true intentions of the heart is a quality that remains essential in any position of leadership or responsibility. It challenges us to seek understanding and to approach complex situations with patience, creativity, and empathy. Furthermore, the famous judgment reveals the universal appeal of wisdom. The principles at work in this story, love, justice, and truth, are timeless and resonate with people across cultures and generations. It is no wonder that this account has become one of the most celebrated examples of wise leadership in history. The impact of this judgment extended far beyond the immediate case. It established Solomon's authority as a ruler who could be trusted to administer justice fairly and wisely. It also reinforced the idea that true wisdom is not just intellectual, but deeply connected to moral integrity and compassion. As we reflect on this story, we are reminded that wisdom is not merely about making the right decisions. It is about understanding the hearts and minds of others. Solomon's ability to navigate such a delicate and emotional situation demonstrates the depth of the gift he received from God. This moment in Solomon's life invites us to consider how we approach challenges and conflicts in our own lives. Do we seek wisdom that goes beyond surface-level understanding? Are we willing to listen, observe, and discern the truth, even when the answers are not immediately clear? The story of Solomon's judgment continues to inspire and challenge us to pursue wisdom in our relationships, our leadership, and our daily lives. It shows us that wisdom, when guided by love and justice, has the power to resolve even the most difficult of problems and to bring light to the darkest of situations. The great temple built with Solomon's vision. Among Solomon's many accomplishments, one stands out as a crowning achievement: the construction of the great temple in Jerusalem. This temple, often referred to as Solomon's Temple, was not merely a magnificent structure. It was the fulfillment of a divine promise, a center of worship for the people of Israel, and a symbol of God's presence among his people. Building the temple required extraordinary wisdom, vision, and leadership, qualities that Solomon displayed in abundance. The idea for the temple did not originate with Solomon. It was his father, King David, who first conceived the vision of building a house for the Lord. In 2 Samuel 7, verse 2, David expressed his desire, saying, "Here I am, living in a house of cedar, while the ark of God remains in a tent." David wanted to replace the tabernacle, a temporary structure used since the time of Moses, with a permanent temple that would reflect the glory of God. However, God revealed to David through the prophet Nathan that he was not the one to build the temple. Instead, this task would be given to his son Solomon. 1 Chronicles 22, verse 7 to 10. When Solomon became king, he took up the responsibility of fulfilling his father's vision. The task before him was immense. The temple was not just a building. It was to be the dwelling place of God's name, the spiritual heart of the nation, and a symbol of Israel's covenant with the Lord. Solomon understood the gravity of this project and approached it with careful planning and unwavering dedication. The construction of the temple is described in detail in 1 Kings 6 and 2 Chronicles 3. Solomon began by gathering the best materials and skilled laborers from across the region. He secured cedar wood from the forests of Lebanon, stones from the quarries, and gold, silver, and bronze of the highest quality. The level of craftsmanship was extraordinary, reflecting the reverence and care that went into every aspect of the temple's design. The temple itself was a marvel of architecture and artistry. It was built on Mount Moriah, the same place where Abraham had been willing to offer Isaac as a sacrifice. 2 Chronicles 3, verse 1. The design of the temple followed the pattern of the tabernacle, but on a grander scale. Its dimensions and layout were carefully planned to create a sense of awe and holiness. The main structure included the holy place and the most holy place, or Holy of Holies, which housed the Ark of the Covenant. The temple was adorned with intricate carvings of cherubim palm trees and open flowers. Its walls were overlaid with pure gold, and its interior radiated a sense of divine majesty. Solomon spared no expense in making the temple a fitting dwelling place for the Lord. In 1 Kings 6 verse 22, we read, "So he overlaid the whole interior with gold. He also overlaid with gold the altar that belonged to the inner sanctuary." But the temple was more than a beautiful building. It was a spiritual landmark. When the construction was completed, Solomon dedicated the temple to the Lord with a ceremony that brought the entire nation together. The dedication is recorded in 1 Kings 8 and 2 Chronicles 6. Solomon's prayer during this occasion is one of the most profound moments in his reign. Standing before the altar, Solomon acknowledged the greatness of God, saying, "But will God really dwell on earth? The heavens, even the highest heaven, cannot contain you. How much less this temple I have built." 1 Kings 8 verse 27. His prayer reflected humility and an understanding that the temple was not a place to confine God, but a symbol of his presence among his people. Solomon also prayed for the temple to be a place of mercy and forgiveness. He asked God to hear the prayers of his people when they turned to the temple in times of need, whether they were seeking justice, deliverance from enemies, or forgiveness for their sins. He even included prayers for foreigners who had come to the temple to seek the Lord, highlighting the inclusive nature of God's covenant with Israel. After Solomon's prayer, the glory of the Lord filled the temple in a visible and awe-inspiring way. The Bible describes this moment in 2 Chronicles 7, verse 1-2, when Solomon finished praying. Fire came down from heaven and consumed the burnt offering and the sacrifices, and the glory of the Lord filled the temple. The priests could not enter the temple of the Lord because the glory of the Lord filled it. This dramatic display of God's presence confirmed that he had accepted Solomon's work and was dwelling among his people. It was a moment of great joy and celebration for the nation of Israel. The temple became the center of worship, a place where sacrifices were offered, and the people gathered to honor the Lord. The significance of Solomon's temple went beyond its physical beauty or religious function. It was a testament to the faithfulness of God, who had fulfilled his promise to David. It also represented the unity and spiritual identity of the nation of Israel. For centuries, the temple stood as a reminder of God's covenant and his desire to dwell among his people. However, the story of the temple also carries a sobering lesson. While the temple was a symbol of God's presence, it was not a guarantee of his favor. As history would later show, when the people of Israel turned away from God and fell into idolatry, the temple was destroyed. This serves as a reminder that true worship is not about buildings or rituals, but about a heart fully devoted to God. For Solomon, the building of the temple was one of the most significant achievements of his reign. It demonstrated his wisdom, vision, and commitment to honoring God. Yet, as we continue to explore his life, we will see that even the wisest and most accomplished individuals must guard their hearts against pride and complacency. Solomon's rules for a successful life. Among Solomon's many contributions to humanity, his writings stand as some of the most profound and practical guides to living a successful and meaningful life. Compiled primarily in the book of Proverbs, these teachings reflect the depth of Solomon's wisdom and provide principles that transcend time and culture. Solomon's insights are not abstract philosophies. They are practical rules for navigating the complexities of human relationships, work, spirituality, and character. The foundation of Solomon's teachings can be summarized in Proverbs 1 verse 7. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. This statement lays the groundwork for everything Solomon taught. For him, wisdom was not merely intellectual or academic. It began with a reverence for God. The fear of the Lord is not about being afraid of God, but about recognizing his authority, seeking his guidance, and living in alignment with his will. This posture of humility and dependence on God is the starting point for all true wisdom. One of Solomon's most consistent themes is the value of wisdom itself. He writes in Proverbs 4 verse 7 to 8, "Wisdom is supreme. Therefore, get wisdom. Though it cost all you have, get understanding. Esteem her, and she will exalt you. Embrace her, and she will honor you." Solomon understood that wisdom is the key to success in every area of life. He encouraged his readers to pursue it with the same passion and commitment they would devote to acquiring wealth or achieving personal goals. He also personified wisdom as a noble woman, calling people to embrace her and reap the rewards of a life guided by understanding and discernment. One of Solomon's most practical areas of instruction is relationships. He wrote extensively about how to interact with others in ways that promote harmony, trust, and mutual respect. For instance, Proverbs 15 verse 1 advises, "A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger." This simple yet profound truth highlights the power of our words to either diffuse conflict or escalate it. Solomon understood that success in life often depends on our ability to manage our interactions with others, to listen carefully, and to respond with wisdom and grace. Solomon also warned against the dangers of laziness and emphasized the importance of hard work. In Proverbs 6 verse 6 to 8, he used the example of an ant to teach diligence. "Go to the ant, you sluggard. Consider its ways and be wise. It has no commander, no overseer or ruler, yet it stores its provisions in summer and gathers its food at harvest." This vivid imagery encourages self-discipline, planning, and initiative. Solomon understood that success is rarely achieved without effort and preparation. By observing the natural world, he drew lessons about the value of perseverance and the dangers of procrastination. In addition to work, Solomon spoke about the wise management of resources. Proverbs 21 verse 20 states, "The wise store up choice food and olive oil, but fools gulp theirs down." This advice reflects the importance of stewardship, planning for the future, and avoiding wastefulness. Solomon's teachings on finances are as relevant today as they were in his time. They encourage living within one's means, avoiding unnecessary debt, and being generous to others. Another theme Solomon addressed was the power of integrity and character. He wrote in Proverbs 10 verse 9, "Whoever walks in integrity walks securely, but whoever takes crooked paths will be found out." For Solomon, success was not merely about external achievements. It was about being a person of honor and truth. Integrity, he taught, leads to a life of security and peace, while dishonesty eventually brings ruin. Solomon's emphasis on character reminds us that true success is rooted in who we are, not just what we accomplish. In addition to his advice on personal character, Solomon wrote extensively about the importance of choosing the right companions. Proverbs 13 verse 20 states, "Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm." This principle highlights the influence that others have on our lives. Solomon encouraged people to surround themselves with those who would uplift and challenge them, rather than those who would lead them astray. The company we keep, he suggested, has a significant impact on our values, decisions, and ultimately our destiny. Solomon also offered wisdom for maintaining a balanced and fulfilling life. In Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1, he wrote, "There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens." This perspective encourages us to recognize the rhythms of life and to approach each season with patience and acceptance. Solomon's wisdom helps us understand that success is not just about relentless striving, but also about knowing when to work, when to rest, and when to celebrate. A recurring theme in Solomon's teachings is the fleeting nature of material wealth and the importance of focusing on what truly matters. He warned in Proverbs 23 verse 4 to 5, "Do not wear yourself out to get rich. Do not trust your own cleverness. Cast but a glance at riches, and they are gone, for they will surely sprout wings and fly off to the sky like an eagle." Solomon's writings reveal a deep understanding of the human tendency to chase after wealth and success at the expense of spiritual and relational well-being. He urged his readers to prioritize wisdom, faith, and relationships over the temporary pleasures of material gain. Finally, Solomon's rules for a successful life are grounded in the belief that wisdom is a gift from God, one that must be sought earnestly and used responsibly. Proverbs 2 verse 6 declares, "For the Lord gives wisdom. From his mouth come knowledge and understanding." This acknowledgement reminds us that true success is not about self-reliance, but about seeking guidance from the one who knows all things. Solomon's teachings continue to resonate because they address universal truths about human nature and the principles of a well-lived life. His rules for success are not confined to the context of ancient Israel. They remain relevant and practical for anyone seeking wisdom, purpose, and fulfillment today. Solomon's search for happiness and purpose. Despite his extraordinary wisdom, immense wealth, and unparalleled achievements, Solomon grappled with one of life's most profound questions: what is the true source of happiness and purpose? His exploration of this question is recorded in the book of Ecclesiastes, a reflective and at times somber account of his search for meaning. In this deeply personal book, Solomon examines life's pursuits and pleasures, only to find that they often fail to deliver lasting fulfillment. Ecclesiastes begins with a striking declaration. "Meaningless, meaningless," says the teacher. "Utterly meaningless. Everything is meaningless." These words may seem surprising coming from a man so accomplished, yet they reveal the heart of Solomon's struggle. Despite his unparalleled success, he felt an emptiness that wealth, wisdom, and worldly pleasures could not fill. His search for purpose became a journey through the various pursuits that people often consider the path to happiness. Solomon first turned to knowledge and intellectual achievement, hoping to find meaning in the pursuit of wisdom. He wrote, "I applied my mind to study and to explore by wisdom all that is done under the heavens." Ecclesiastes 1 verse 13. However, even this noble pursuit left him dissatisfied. While he acknowledged the value of wisdom over folly, he also recognized its limitations. He lamented, For with much wisdom comes much sorrow. The more knowledge, the more grief. Ecclesiastes 1 verse 18. The pursuit of knowledge alone, Solomon discovered, could not provide the ultimate answers to life's deepest questions. Next, Solomon explored pleasure and material abundance. As one of the wealthiest and most powerful kings in history, he had access to every luxury imaginable. He wrote, "I denied myself nothing my eyes desired. I refused my heart no pleasure. My heart took delight in all my labor, and this was the reward for all my toil." Ecclesiastes 2 verse 10. Yet, even with all the pleasures of life at his disposal, Solomon found them to be fleeting and unsatisfying. He concluded, "Yet, when I surveyed all that my hands had done and what I had toiled to achieve, everything was meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Nothing was gained under the sun." Solomon's wealth, possessions, and indulgences failed to bring the lasting joy he sought. They provided momentary satisfaction, but left him yearning for something deeper. In his search, Solomon also turned to work and achievement, hoping that the fruits of his labor would give him a sense of purpose. He built grand projects, planted vineyards, and established a legacy of accomplishment. Yet even this pursuit left him questioning its value. He observed, "What do people get for all the toil and anxious striving with which they labor under the sun? All their days their work is grief and pain. Even at night, their minds do not rest. This too is meaningless." Ecclesiastes 2 verse 22 to 23. Solomon realized that no matter how much one achieves, the toil and anxiety of life often outweigh the satisfaction of success. Moreover, he wrestled with the fact that all his achievements would one day be left to others who might not appreciate them or use them wisely. Through his reflections, Solomon arrived at a sobering conclusion. Life's pursuits, when centered solely on worldly goals, are ultimately a chasing after the wind. However, Solomon did not leave the reader without hope. As he continued to reflect, he began to uncover glimpses of true meaning and purpose. One of the turning points in Ecclesiastes is Solomon's recognition of the importance of gratitude and enjoying life's simple pleasures. He wrote, "A person can do nothing better than to eat and drink and find satisfaction in their own toil. This too, I see, is from the hand of God, for without him, who can eat or find enjoyment?" Ecclesiastes 2 verse 24 to 25. Here, Solomon acknowledged that the ability to enjoy life's blessings is a gift from God. It is not the pursuit of pleasure itself, but the recognition of God's provision that brings genuine joy. Solomon also emphasized the importance of living with an eternal perspective. He observed that God has set eternity in the human heart, suggesting that our longing for purpose and fulfillment cannot be satisfied by temporal things. This eternal longing points us to God, the source of true meaning and lasting joy. In the closing chapters of Ecclesiastes, Solomon offered his ultimate conclusion. Now all has been heard. Here is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind. Ecclesiastes 12 verse 13. After exploring every possible avenue of fulfillment, Solomon returned to the foundation of his wisdom, reverence for God and obedience to his commands. This, he declared, is the true purpose of life. Solomon's search for happiness and purpose is a journey that resonates deeply with people today. His honest reflections remind us that wealth, success, and pleasure, while not inherently wrong, are insufficient to satisfy the deepest longings of the human heart. They point us instead to the ultimate source of fulfillment, a relationship with God and a life lived in alignment with His will. Through Solomon's experiences, we are challenged to reflect on our own pursuits and priorities. Are we chasing after temporary goals or are we seeking the eternal? Are we finding joy in God's gifts, or are we striving for meaning in the things of this world? As we move forward, we will see how Solomon's wisdom, even in his search for purpose, inspired others, most notably the Queen of Sheba, who journeyed to test the king's wisdom for herself. The queen who traveled to test Solomon's wisdom. The fame of Solomon's wisdom and the splendor of his kingdom spread far and wide, reaching the ears of rulers and dignitaries across distant lands. Among those who heard of his extraordinary reputation was the Queen of Sheba, a powerful and wealthy ruler from a distant kingdom, often thought to be located in present-day Yemen or Ethiopia. Her journey to visit Solomon is a story of curiosity, admiration, and the confirmation of the unparalleled wisdom that God had given him. The account of the Queen of Sheba's visit is recorded in 1 Kings 10 verse 1 to 13 and 2 Chronicles 9 verse 1 to 12. The story begins with the queen hearing about Solomon's wisdom and his relationship with the Lord. However, rather than accepting the reports at face value, she decided to see for herself whether the rumors were true. This decision to travel such a great distance underscores the profound impact of Solomon's reputation and the universal appeal of wisdom. When the Queen of Sheba heard about the fame of Solomon and his relationship to the Lord, she came to test Solomon with hard questions. 1 Kings 10, verse 1. The Queen of Sheba's approach was deliberate and thoughtful. She brought with her a caravan of camels loaded with spices, gold, and precious stones, a reflection of her wealth and the significance of the occasion. Her intention was not only to witness Solomon's wisdom, but also to challenge it. She came prepared with questions and riddles, seeking to test the depth of his understanding. When the queen arrived in Jerusalem, she was immediately struck by the grandeur of Solomon's court. The splendor of his palace, the organization of his officials, and the offerings at the temple all reflected a kingdom governed with extraordinary wisdom and attention to detail. Yet it was not the material wealth or the outward appearance of Solomon's kingdom that impressed her most. It was his ability to answer every question she posed. The Bible states, Solomon answered all her questions. Nothing was too hard for the king to explain to her. 1 Kings 10 verse 3. This statement highlights the breadth of Solomon's wisdom. He was not only knowledgeable about matters of governance, religion, and philosophy, but also able to address the queen's most challenging inquiries. His answers were so compelling that they left her utterly convinced of his extraordinary gift. The queen's response to Solomon's wisdom and the prosperity of his kingdom is recorded in 1 Kings 10, verse 6 to 7. She said to the king, "The report I heard in my own country about your achievements and your wisdom is true. But I did not believe these things until I came and saw with my own eyes. Indeed, not even half was told me. In wisdom and wealth, you have far exceeded the report I heard." Her words reveal both her initial skepticism and her awe at the reality of what she witnessed. The queen recognized that Solomon's wisdom and success were not merely human achievements, they were a reflection of God's blessing. She praised the Lord, saying, "Praise be to the Lord your God, who has delighted in you and placed you on the throne of Israel. Because of the Lord's eternal love for Israel, he has made you king to maintain justice and righteousness." 1 Kings 10 verse 9. The Queen of Sheba's visit is significant for several reasons. First, it demonstrates the universal nature of wisdom. Solomon's gift was not confined to Israel. It drew people from distant lands, transcending cultural and geographical boundaries. This encounter shows how divine wisdom has the power to inspire and unite people from all walks of life. Second, the queen's acknowledgement of God highlights the ultimate source of Solomon's wisdom. She recognized that his success and understanding were not his own, but were given to him by the Lord. This acknowledgement serves as a reminder that true wisdom points back to God and brings glory to Him. The Queen's visit also reflects the human desire to seek truth and understanding. Her willingness to undertake such a long and arduous journey demonstrates the value she placed on wisdom. Her example challenges us to consider the lengths we are willing to go to pursue knowledge and to seek answers to life's most important questions. The Queen of Sheba's encounter with Solomon concluded with an exchange of gifts. She gave the king gold, spices, and precious stones, and in return, Solomon gave her gifts of equal or greater value. This mutual exchange symbolized the respect and admiration they had for one another. The Bible notes that never again were so many spices brought in as those the Queen of Sheba gave to King Solomon. 1 Kings 10 verse 10. After her visit, the queen returned to her homeland, enriched not only by the treasures she received, but also by the wisdom and insights she gained. Though her story is brief, it leaves a lasting impression of the impact that Solomon's wisdom had on the world. The story of the Queen of Sheba challenges us to reflect on our own pursuit of wisdom. Are we willing to seek out truth, even if it requires effort and sacrifice? Do we recognize the divine source of wisdom and give glory to God for the insights we receive? When Solomon's wisdom wasn't enough. For all his wisdom, wealth, and achievements, Solomon's life was not without its failings. As remarkable as his reign was, it also serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of ignoring the very principles he so eloquently taught. Solomon's story is a sobering reminder that wisdom, no matter how great, must be accompanied by humility, obedience, and steadfast devotion to God. The seeds of Solomon's downfall were sown in the very areas where he was most blessed: his wealth, power, and relationships. While these blessings were gifts from God, they also became sources of temptation and distraction when Solomon failed to set appropriate boundaries and remain fully committed to God's commandments. One of the most significant areas where Solomon faltered was in his relationships, particularly his marriages. The Bible records that Solomon had an astonishing 700 wives and 300 concubines, many of whom were foreign women. While political alliances often motivated such marriages in ancient times, they ultimately led Solomon away from God. In 1 Kings 11 verse 1-2, we read, King Solomon, however, loved many foreign women besides Pharaoh's daughter. They were from nations about which the Lord had told the Israelites, "You must not intermarry with them, because they will surely turn your hearts after their gods." Nevertheless, Solomon held fast to them in love. Despite his wisdom, Solomon allowed his love for these women to overshadow his obedience to God. As a result, his wives influenced him to worship other gods and build altars for their idols. This was a direct violation of God's command to have no other gods before him. The Bible describes the tragic consequences of this in 1 Kings 11 verse 4. As Solomon grew old, his wives turned his heart after other gods, and his heart was not fully devoted to the Lord his God, as the heart of David his father had been. Solomon's divided heart led to spiritual compromise, and his idolatry angered the Lord. God had blessed Solomon with wisdom and wealth beyond measure, but these gifts were conditional upon his faithfulness. The Lord warned Solomon explicitly about the dangers of turning away, yet he failed to heed these warnings. As a result, God declared that the kingdom would be torn away from Solomon's lineage, though not during his lifetime out of respect for David. 1 Kings 11, verse 11-13. Another area where Solomon's wisdom fell short was in his management of wealth and power. While he amassed unparalleled riches and built a kingdom of splendor, he also imposed heavy burdens on the people of Israel. Solomon's ambitious building projects, including the temple and his royal palace, required significant labor and resources. To sustain these efforts, he levied heavy taxes and conscripted workers, leading to discontent among the people. After Solomon's death, this discontent erupted into rebellion, and the kingdom was divided into two, Israel in the north and Judah in the south. This division marked the beginning of a long period of instability and decline for the nation. Solomon's inability to balance his pursuit of greatness with the needs of his people ultimately weakened the very kingdom he had worked so hard to build. What makes Solomon's downfall particularly tragic is that he had the wisdom to foresee these dangers. His writings, especially in Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, are filled with warnings about the very pitfalls he fell into. For example, Proverbs 4 verse 23 states, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." This principle underscores the importance of vigilance in maintaining spiritual and moral integrity. Yet Solomon failed to guard his own heart, allowing his affections and ambitions to lead him astray. Similarly, in Ecclesiastes 5 verse 10, Solomon wrote, "Whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. This too is meaningless." Despite recognizing the futility of wealth as a source of fulfillment, Solomon's own life became a testament to this truth. His accumulation of riches did not bring him lasting joy or purpose, and his pursuit of material greatness ultimately contributed to his spiritual decline. The story of Solomon's failure is not without hope, however. It serves as a powerful reminder that even the wisest and most gifted individuals are not immune to the consequences of sin and disobedience. It highlights the need for continual dependence on God and the importance of aligning our hearts with His will. In many ways, Solomon's life is a microcosm of the human condition. It shows the tension between the blessings of wisdom and the temptations of pride, between the pursuit of success and the call to obedience. Solomon's story challenges us to ask difficult questions about our own lives. Are we using the gifts God has given us to honor Him, or are we allowing them to distract us from His purposes? Are we guarding our hearts against the subtle influences that can lead us away from God, or are we compromising in ways that jeopardize our spiritual health? The lessons from Solomon's mistakes are as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago. They remind us that wisdom is not a one-time gift, but a lifelong pursuit that requires humility, accountability, and a commitment to walking in God's ways. As we reflect on Solomon's life, we are also reminded of God's grace. Despite Solomon's failings, God's promises to David were not nullified. The lineage of David through Solomon ultimately led to the birth of Jesus Christ, the true king and embodiment of wisdom. This redemptive thread running through Solomon's story points us to the greater hope we have in Christ, who offers forgiveness, restoration, and the ultimate source of wisdom for those who seek Him. Why Solomon's teachings still matter today. Though Solomon lived thousands of years ago, his wisdom continues to resonate across cultures and generations. His writings, decisions, and even his failures offer timeless lessons that address the fundamental questions of life. How can we live wisely? What gives life true meaning? How can we avoid the pitfalls of pride, greed, and disobedience? Solomon's teachings remain relevant because they speak to the universal human experience and provide principles rooted in eternal truths. One of the key reasons Solomon's teachings endure is their practicality. His Proverbs, found in the book of Proverbs, are concise yet profoundly insightful. They address everyday situations, offering guidance on relationships, work, character, and decision-making. For example, Proverbs 16 verse 3 advises, "Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and He will establish your plans." This principle reminds us of the importance of aligning our goals with God's will and seeking His guidance in all areas of life. Solomon's wisdom transcends time because it is grounded in truths that apply to every stage and aspect of human existence. Another reason Solomon's teachings remain significant is their emphasis on character and integrity. In a world that often prioritizes outward success, Solomon's wisdom challenges us to focus on the inward qualities that truly define us. Proverbs 22 verse 1 states, "A good name is more desirable than great riches. To be esteemed is better than silver or gold." This verse underscores the enduring value of a life lived with honesty, kindness, and respect for others. Solomon understood that true success is not measured by wealth or status, but by the impact we have on those around us and the legacy we leave behind. Perhaps one of the most profound contributions of Solomon's writings is his exploration of the meaning of life. In Ecclesiastes, Solomon wrestles with questions of purpose and fulfillment, ultimately concluding that life without God is meaningless. His reflections resonate with the struggles many people face today as they search for significance in a world filled with distractions and fleeting pleasures. Ecclesiastes 12 verse 13 encapsulates his ultimate conclusion. "Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind." This statement serves as a reminder that our purpose is found not in the pursuit of wealth, pleasure, or achievement, but in a relationship with God and obedience to his will. Solomon's teachings also provide valuable lessons about the consequences of ignoring wisdom. His own life serves as a warning about the dangers of pride, idolatry, and compromise. While he began his reign as a humble and devoted servant of God, his later years were marked by spiritual decline and disobedience. His failures remind us that wisdom, while a powerful gift, must be accompanied by vigilance and a heart fully committed to God. In a modern context, Solomon's wisdom offers guidance for navigating the complexities of life. His principles can help us make better decisions, build stronger relationships, and approach challenges with discernment and faith. For example, Proverbs 15 verse 22 teaches, "Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed." This verse highlights the importance of seeking advice and learning from the experiences of others, a practice that remains essential for personal and professional growth. Moreover, Solomon's insights into work, wealth, and contentment are especially relevant in today's fast-paced and materialistic world. Ecclesiastes 4 verse 6 reflects this balance. "Better one handful with tranquility than two handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind." This wisdom challenges us to find satisfaction in simplicity and to prioritize peace and balance over relentless striving. This wisdom challenges us to find satisfaction in simplicity and to prioritize peace and balance over relentless striving. Solomon's legacy is also deeply tied to his understanding of God's character and the importance of worship. The temple he built in Jerusalem was a testament to his desire to honor God and create a space where the people could come together in reverence and unity. While the physical temple no longer stands, the principles of worship, gratitude, and devotion that Solomon exemplified remain central to a life of faith. Finally, Solomon's teachings matter today because they point us toward Christ. As a king endowed with divine wisdom, Solomon was a foreshadowing of Jesus, the ultimate embodiment of wisdom and truth. Jesus referred to Solomon in Matthew 12 verse 42, saying, "The queen of the south will rise at the judgment with this generation and condemn it. For she came from the ends of the earth to listen to Solomon's wisdom, and now something greater than Solomon is here." Jesus' words remind us that while Solomon's wisdom was extraordinary, it was ultimately incomplete. True wisdom is found in Christ, who offers not only guidance, but also redemption and eternal life. In conclusion, Solomon's teachings still matter because they address the timeless challenges and questions of life. They call us to seek wisdom, walk in integrity, honor God, and find purpose in Him. Solomon's life, with all its triumphs and failures, serves as both an inspiration and a cautionary tale, reminding us that wisdom is a gift to be cherished, nurtured, and used to glorify God. As we reflect on Solomon's legacy, may we be inspired to seek wisdom with humility, to live with purpose and integrity, and to place our trust in the one who is the source of all understanding. Solomon's story is not just his own. It is a mirror that invites us to examine our own hearts and to pursue the path of wisdom that leads to life. If this video has inspired you or given you a deeper understanding of Solomon's life and teachings, I invite you to take a moment to subscribe to this channel. By subscribing, you'll stay connected to uplifting and meaningful content that nurtures your faith. Don't forget to like this video and leave a comment below with the word Amen as a declaration of your commitment to living in harmony with Christ. Consider sharing this video with your family and friends, especially those who might be in need of encouragement or guidance. You never know how this message might bless someone else's life and help them find the wisdom and hope they've been searching for. Thank you for watching, and may the wisdom of Solomon, guided by the eternal truth of Christ, inspire you to walk in faith, love, and purpose every day. God bless you.